Hi my friends, and welcome to our classroom. Today we're going to be doing a really cool lesson. We're actually going to be doing two things in one video. I know. We're going to be combining science and art, and we're going to make two really cool Mother's Day gifts. Mother's Day is just a couple days away, so this is going to be the perfect opportunity for you and your mom to do together for a nice bonding activity. So like I said, we're going to be doing two things. I'm going to be showing you one activity at a time. The first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be using flowers and make watercolor paint out of it. We're going to be taking out all of the beautiful colors from the flowers, the leaves, the fruit, the veggies, whatever we're going to use, and then we're going to create a beautiful design. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to use flowers and we're going to screen print, which means we're going to get the flower, put it on a piece of cloth, and then push it down and smash it down so that it looks like a flower is on the cloth. So I hope you enjoy, I hope you have fun, and I hope you and your mom or whatever maternal figure you have around you have super awesome time. All right, let's get started. So I came across this hibiscus bush and I picked a couple flowers. Then I came across this bush and I picked a couple leaves from it. Then I decided to use this purple cabbage that I had left over from my last experiment. This is the container I'm going to use for this experiment. Now let's get started on the experiment. With the red cabbage, I'm tearing apart all of the leaves and ripping them into medium-sized pieces. There's going to be some tough parts on this red cabbage, and you don't want to put that in. You want to put in the flimsiest, softest parts of the leaves into the container. I'm going to try and fill it up all the way to the top. The more red cabbage leaves I have, the more pigmented or colorful the ink will be. And here I'm putting in the leaves. I recommend cutting them up as well and filling them all the way up to the top of the jar. In the last one, I have my hibiscus flowers. Now remember, you're only going to be using the petals. The petals are where all of the color is. And you're going to want to rip up the petals and putting them in the jar, and again, filling it all the way up to the top. The more petals, leaves, or cabbage leaves you have, the more pigmented or colorful the ink is going to be. This next part is just for adults. You're going to be pouring in hot water a third of the way up the container. Then you're going to be pouring in half a teaspoon of salt. What the salt is going to do is preserve the color and make it last longer on the paper you're using. What you see me doing here is pushing and smushing the petals, and this will allow all of the pigment, all of the color from the petals to get out and into the water. You're going to do this for every jar you have. After just a couple minutes, you can see that the water is already starting to get some of the color from the petals, from the leaves, and the cabbage leaves. Now what you're going to want to do is leave these jars overnight to saturate the water completely with the pigment or the color. The longer you leave the jars out, the more pigmented or colorful the water will be. So see you tomorrow. And here are the jars with the natural ink that we got from all the pigment. This is the first jar. This is the hibiscus jar, and all of the pigment from the petals turned into this dark pink color, almost magenta. This is the red cabbage, And as we've seen in a previous experiment, it's a dark purple. And the last jar are the bush leaves, and it is a yellow color. Now here is just me doing a watercolor design. There is no plan. I'm just painting on blobs of color all over the paper. I guess the one plan is that I do want to cover the entire paper with all of the natural ink that we collected. So enjoy and watch as I color with red cabbage, hibiscus, and bush leaves. And here's the end result. This is what it looks like in natural lighting, and here's what it looks like in the shade. After it has dried completely, I'm going to go ahead and write a little message. Because I am going to be using this as my card for Mother's Day, I am going to write Happy Mother's Day on it. And this about wraps up the watercoloring activity. I hope you had fun. But now we're going to get into our next activity, which is screen printing. So I hope you enjoy that, and make sure you look at the materials list. And as usual, I have my hat, my sunglasses, and I'm going to be using some plant clippers and a paper bag for collecting all of my new flowers. And here are all of the materials I plan on using for this activity. You don't have to use a tea towel. It can be a silk towel, just anything that's going to be up for display and that you're not going to wash that often. And here I am. I'm going to be taking off the big ends of the flowers. I really just need the petals where there is the most pigment or color. So you do the same, and if you don't have the same exact flowers and leaves as me, that's fine. Just anything that is super bright. So now I'm going to place the flowers and leaves exactly where I want them. When we screen print, that means that the pigment from the flowers and leaves are going to transfer over to the cloth. So you got to make sure and plan out exactly how you want the design to look like. And now you're going to use your painter's tape and tape down absolutely everything. You want to make sure that no leaf or flower is showing. Make sure you're covering every single bit of it. As you can see here, I am sitting on the floor. It is nice and hard because what we're going to be doing now is hammering. So mom, if you're there, maternal figure, this is where you come in. Go ahead and smash all of those flowers and leaves. Now that we're done smashing all of the leaves, you can see on the other side how the pigment has come through. So that means that on this side, it's going to be super bright. So here we go. Look at how well the pigment's transferred onto the cloth. It is so beautiful. And it's very bright. You can see where some of the flowers were very good at transferring their pigments. Here's what the flowers and leaves now look like. They are flat as pancakes and super mushy because all of the pigment is now oozing out of it. Here's my first tea cloth that I used, and I'm going to go ahead and use our ink and tie-dye. So here's a third activity you can do if you'd like with the leftover ink, and it can be with a tea towel, it could be with a shirt. Again, you're going to want to make sure afterwards that you only hand wash it in cold water. Here's what they look like in the sun. Again, I am super happy with how they came out. They look so beautiful, and as you can see, the pigment or the color of the flowers and leaves came out really well. Wow, that was a lot. I hope you enjoyed doing all of these activities. Here's what I ended up doing with my picture for my Mother's Day card. I had my sister and I sign it, and I'm gonna give it to my mom on Mother's Day. And my cloths have dried and they look so beautiful. The aftercare for this is you only use cold water to wash and hand washing only. But it's so pretty. And then for my tie-dye, this is what it looks like. Super cool, and it stayed. It's nice and dry. Well, that's it for this video. I love you, I miss you, I wish you well. To all the mommies out there, happy Mother's Day, and I'll see you in the next video.